There are three important sectors I think African leaders should be paying attention to in terms of development in our individual countries. They are the agriculture sector, the natural resources and mining sector, and also the industrial sector. Agriculture sector is the backbone to every nation's development or economy. And without the agriculture sector, the industrial sector can't function, because the industrial sector needs the produce, the materials, and the raw materials and from the agriculture sector to what? To function, like to add value to it. Right. And luckily for us, fortunate for us, we've been blessed with the fertile lands, with large water bodies to irrigate our produce, our farm produce, and all that. Right, we've been blessed with good weather conditions, with the sun, like basically all the things we need to produce and bring security to our food. We have it all in Africa. Right. Also, with the natural resource sector, both renewable and non-renewable resources, the sun, the water, the wind, we have all of that in Africa. And with the non-renewable, the fuels, the oils, the metals, right, the gold, the diamonds, and all that, we also have all of them too in Africa. And this sector is more of like the catalyst, like the engine to get your capital to what, to fund your country, to keep your country what's going. Right, the natural resource sector, like the money sector and all that, it's more of like the catalyst, like the engine, like where you get your capital from. And fortunate for us to be blessed with all of it. We have most of all those resources in Africa. Right. So the industrial sector is where you add value. Right? It's where you add value to this agriculture sector and this mining sector or natural resource sector, and turn them into finished products and sell them or export them to the what? To the outside world, to the foreign lands. Right? So I say this to say that upon all these things available to us, we are not producing enough. We are not producing value-added finished products enough. In the country Ghana, in my own country Ghana, we had this personality, this prominent, innovative personality by the name Kantaka. His full name is Safo Kantaka, something like that. This man was producing cars, producing like value-added products, finished products that we need, right? Cars, lot of things, lot of stuffs. You get me? Instead of the government of Ghana to invest into this man to produce more and go and produce on a large scale, so we can use some of them here and also export some of them. No, our government has sat down, didn't invest, and have allowed this man to die. Like he is dead now, he's late now, and with all the knowledge that he has died with all that knowledge. Right, the cars that he produce, it's called Kantaka, right? And it's technology, like he's so innovative and to the point that even the cars, when they are coming back, they talk. Right, they talk. They just as these modern cars that these foreign people are creating, these Western people are creating, are producing, that they can talk, that maybe 10 left, 10 right. These cars do the same. These cars does the same. And our leaders, our so-called leaders, have sat down for this man to go to his grave with all this knowledge without investing into this man's work so he can produce on a larger scale. South Africa is supplying Germany with arms, with weapons, and most African people are surprised. Me, I was surprised when I saw the news that South Africa is the one producing or selling weapons, arms to Germany. Germany, which is known to be a war country, a history of being a war country, is now buying weapons and arms from South Africa. I'm surprised, bro. Mr. Saras Annan of Tuntum Network has done a video on it, and we are here to react to it. I go by the name Yama, and this is New Wele News. If today's your first time coming across the content from this channel and find value in it, do the needful and hit the subscribe button. I'll give you a minute to do that. Please, I'm begging of you, hit that subscribe button. I beg of you. You can come under the comment section and share your thoughts, your ideas, suggest your suggestions, and also like and share the video to people who need to hear and get this information. Let's get right into it.
If South Africa is now supplying a whole Germany, South Africa supplying a whole Germany with arms that is known for wars in history, with weapons of war, then anything is possible, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time for African countries to go into commercial farms, into processed foods and beverages. We have so much to offer, but we can never get there when we continue to privatize our resources.
Where from these flies? Why are these flies coming into my video like that?
There is so much money to be made, people of Africa. There is money sitting on the table,
We have
begging to be
everything that we
taken,
need
and we seem
to
not
make
to
money,
be interested.
to be
Ladies and
self-reliant,
gentlemen,
to sustain ourselves as
South
people,
Africa
as a
generated
continent.
$550 million from defense exports in 2025. South Africa last year
$500 million.
sold military weapons, ammunition, equipment to 42
They
countries
made
in the world,
$500 million.
including to France,
Okay.
to Turkey, to the UAE, and made more than $500 million. I keep telling you, there is nothing like, oh, the Westerners wouldn't buy from us. There is nothing like, oh, the Asians will only buy the raw material from us, or oh, they think our goods are inferior quality. There is nothing like that. You are still reading from books written in the late 70s. Wake up and smell the coffee. The world has changed. Supply of goods and services are of more demand than you can ever meet right now. The world's population has skyrocketed. Demand is constantly on the rise, and local producers cannot even meet them, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to package your things right from wherever you are in Africa, because South Africa has a whole military equipment production industry that has just taken off on commercial production since last year, ladies and gentlemen. The South African government body that regulates and authorizes all arms trade, manufacturing, and export, ensuring compliance with international laws, last year approved 582 export permits to 42 countries, which suggests that now they are producing ammunitions, armored vehicles, aircraft, electronic warfare systems on commercial basis for sale, ladies and gentlemen. And out of the $550 million revenue they made from last year's sales, guess which country bought the most, ladies and gentlemen? Which countries do you think bought the most? The largest exports went to Europe. It went to Germany. Germany alone bought military supplies worth $180 million from South Africa last year. France also bought from them. Turkey.
I haven't heard South Africa at war. Like, I haven't read anywhere that in South Africa's history that they have been to war with another country before, and see what they are producing, see the weapons, the arms they are producing. I was saying it earlier, we had one person, right, one man who was doing the same back home here in Ghana. He even created an Iron Man suit for our military. He was creating armored vehicles and all that, helicopters and all that. Instead of our people, our leaders, to invest into this man's company and even nationalize it so he can produce on a larger scale. They did not. They did not. Our so-called leaders, with all their school education and all their intelligence and all that, they did not support this man. They didn't invest and nationalize what this man was doing. This man created an Iron Man suit. Iron Man suit that we see in the movies. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. This man did same in Ghana here. He created armored suits for our military.
UAE, Kenya, Mozambique, Ghana, the DRC, and Malawi all bought from South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. South Africa just unlocked a whole new industry. The wars are increasing. Nations are spending on arms. Local production can't meet demand, and South Africa is cashing in big time. Listen,
South Africa is cashing in big time.
Bad weather conditions are making agriculture very expensive in the West. They are seeing so much snowfall, unlike before. All over in the USA, Canada, and Europe, it is falling. And in addition to all of that, war will make it practically impossible to farm. And natural disasters are increasing. Africa can feed the world through food. That's how we are going to cash in.
We have the fertile land, we have the good weather conditions to produce food. But let's make sense why these countries have enough food than us. What are they doing right and what are we doing wrong? Why do they have enough food than us? When we have the fertile land, good weather conditions, we have even water bodies to irrigate these farms. We have everything to produce our fertilizers and fertilize our land and fertilize our crops. We have the sun. We have absolutely everything to bring security to our food, to provide more, to produce more food. But countries who have bad weather conditions, who have infertile lands, are rather producing more food than us. They have enough food than us. We go back to them to go buy food from them. That makes sense.
African produce and our products will be needed. Already, European countries have sent delegations to many parts of the world looking for oil and gas supply. When you see Western companies like Eni, Total Energies, Shell, BP, and Equinor exploring for oil in any part of the world, know that that's how Europe intends to keep up with the supply of oil and gas into their countries. Europe is actively seeking oil and gas from Africa. They take the initiative to invest with their own money and explore and eventually be the ones to drill and take that oil away. Majority of the crude product goes straight to their countries for refining.
Africa.
Geographically, North Africa, West Africa is closer to Europe via shipping than from Asia, and the wars that are happening aren't actually going on in our part of the world. So it completely guarantees their supply. We, the African people, will have to recognize this and position ourselves to also cash in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time we have to nationalize a lot of what we have here so that we can produce on large scale and have one pricing point to them. This is the time for African countries to go into commercial farms, into processed foods and beverages. The other day, ladies and gentlemen, on the news, the
value-added products
as the country.
We have all the resources. We have everything to kickstart our industries and maintain them and sustain them and make them function and produce more value-added products. We have everything. These things that we are using to produce, that they use to produce these weapons and arms, it's iron, it's metals, and we have all other metals in our lands, in our countries. We have them in large deposits, in large amounts of a year. So why aren't we producing more? Why is industries in Africa less? What is the problem? What are we doing wrong? They are sitting down and allowing people to come and invest in our industries, in our sectors, and then when they extract and mine them and refine them, they take it back to their countries. Does this make sense? Africa, let's wake up. Africa, let's open our eyes. Africa, let's start thinking on our toes. Africa, let's start becoming productive. We should be proactive too. Let's start working. Let's start doing something. Let's keep something running for ourselves, for our own selves.
Widely regarded as the world's largest importer and processor of cocoa beans. The country processes a significant share of the world's cocoa supply for the world. Netherlands. The port of Amsterdam is often called the cocoa capital of the world. Dutch facilities transform the cocoa beans into cocoa butter.
Amsterdam or the Dutch or the Netherlands, they don't produce cocoa. They don't grow cocoa on their land. So how come they are the cocoa capital of the world? How come they are the cocoa capital of the world? Ghana and Ivory Coast is the largest producer of cocoa beans, or we plant and grow this cocoa in our country. So how come Netherlands or the Dutch or the Amsterdam is the capital of cocoa in the world? We are exporting everything to them. We are exporting everything to them.
Cocoa powder, chocolate ingredients, and export worldwide. So they buy the raw cocoa beans from Ghana and Ivory Coast and process them into these items and ship them off to other countries to make the chocolate.
They ship them back to us again.
And they make all the profit on it. Meanwhile, the Netherlands do not have a single acre of cocoa farm. Does this make any sense to you, ladies and gentlemen?
Does this make any sense to us?
In need of cocoa products.
Does this make sense to
right here? And you think when we invest in the processing and the branding,
Africa,
they wouldn't come?
What is wrong with us? What's disturbing our race? What's wrong with our mentality?
We need a serious marketing machine to show off the varieties we have. That's what we lack. We need to publicize our products in magazines, on the media, get health related specialists to talk about it on big platforms and show them in our arts and music for the world to see. This is how you market yourself. This is how you change a narrative. It is deliberate and targeted. We will be cashing in from those cocoa beans that we have here. South Africa is showing the way, ladies and gentlemen, through arms sale. If South Africa is now supplying a whole
Germany,
South Africa supplying
Germany, France,
that is known for wars with weapons of war. Then anything is possible, ladies and gentlemen.
Anything is possible in Africa, bro.
Material used in
we have everything at our disposal.
And armed vehicles is steel. Steel is produced from iron ore, which is abundant in Africa. Iron ore is abundant in Guinea, South Africa, Mauritania, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Algeria, and Nigeria. In most African countries, this mineral has never been even explored, ladies and gentlemen. But only South Africa, out of the 54 African.
So I'm asking, Africa, without our natural resources, without these metals, these precious metals that we have in our countries, without it, where would Africa be? What would Africa look like? I'm asking, because I'm just imagining. Because even with all these things that is more of like a catalyst, as I said earlier, it's more of like the engine, the capital that we need. What right to facilitate the development of our country. We have all this and still we are suffering. Like we are lacking behind, we are trailing behind in terms of development. Then how would Africa look like? What would Africa be like without all these things?
Countries or so is able to use the iron ore for something meaningful. The rest are just sitting on it and rather importing weapons from the United States, from China and Russia and wherever they get it from. It's like having a rich, fertile land but starving of food, ladies and gentlemen. The world has a whole.
Mr. Saros, it's not like that's the reality. That's what is going on in Africa. We have the fertile land, but we are still hungry. There's still poverty. There are shortages of food in Africa. It's not like that's what's happening on the grounds in Africa. That's what's happening on the continent. Africa, we are some group of people. Bro. Africa is a special species, bro. Africa, we are very, very special species that we need to be studied because nothing makes sense in Africa. Nothing makes sense, like in terms of development, in terms of improvement, in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of our food, in terms of our security, in terms of we importing more rather than exporting more. And in terms of we exporting things that we can produce in our countries, we need to be studied, bro. Our brains, like how we think, our mentality needs to be studied. Because nothing makes sense here. It doesn't make sense.
Whole need for things made in Africa, I can promise you this. We have so much to offer, but we can never get there when we continue to privatize our resources. The competition out there is so aggressive, it is diverse and politically motivated. You need state support to break ceilings, ladies and gentlemen. Every single successful Chinese company that goes international is backed by the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese government signs bilateral agreement with nations of the world that brings on board companies from China to open up markets to them. That's how they work. African companies are left on their own to always find their own markets. That's why we are not growing. This will never make us competitive, ladies and gentlemen. The company that produces these ammunitions in South Africa is 100% owned by the state of South Africa. It is called Daniel, established in 1992 in Pretoria. State ownership is essential, folks. It is the only way out.
Producing weapons.
This company in 2024 made 190 million in revenue from export of military equipment. And last year they tripled it to $550 million. They are projected to break the 1 billion ceiling by the end of this year. Looking at how wars are now common, ladies and gentlemen. The more we leave our businesses in the hands of private ownerships, the more foreigners come into Africa with bigger investments and take over our economies. This isn't working. This isn't working, and it's not sustainable. Every single African country must get into the commercial production of something essential to the world immediately. There is no more time to waste, ladies and gentlemen.
What's Africa been known for in terms of providing something essential to the world? I learned that if you want lawyers, if you want if you go to America, you get most of them there. If you want architectures, if you go to Singapore, you get, like, or Singapore produces or provides the world with architectures, top tier architectures, right? If you want medical people, medical doctors and IT people, I think is it India provides most of it. India is known for producing IT people and medical people, like people in the health sector. If you want people who are producing like technologies, bringing new things every day, China is known for that. If you want a country that produces quality cars, Germany is known for that. So what is Africa also known for? Which African country is known for a specific essential thing that the world needs? Like, we are not producing anything, bro. Africa is not producing anything. I mean, value added finished product, or even human resources. Even with the human resource, we are not known for anything. Ours is we are the laborers. We are more of like the workers at the low end who are doing the manual things. Like, bro,
this is the blueprint. There is so much money on the table to be made. If governments of Africa are serious and hands-on in production, we should become a production powerhouse, a whole powerhouse in the space of 10 years. China cannot be our solution. China cannot. It will have to come from us, ladies and gentlemen. I'll end it here. I appreciate you for the support and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. You should subscribe if today is your first time and click on the bell for more
for
videos.
bringing us this information
Ghana.
about Africa. What's going on in Africa? So this is the end of the video. You've learned something new, I believe. If you find value in this content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Do same for Tuntum Network by Mr. Cyrus Annan here. And go in the comment section, under the comment section. Let's share ideas, drop your suggestions, let's talk, let's vibe, let's communicate, right? On how to develop our individual countries, on how to bring development and grow our countries, right? Our African countries. I go by the name Nyama, this is New Wele News, and hope to catch you on the next episode about